My beloved soul, something has just happened in the spiritual realm that has never happened this way before, and you were not supposed to miss this message. On May 25th, a divine transaction took place, quiet, unnoticed by the world, but recorded in the highest courts of heaven. $1 million check was written in your name, not metaphorically alone, but as a real, powerful declaration of overflow, restoration, and divine compensation. And what makes this moment even more extraordinary is that even Archangel Michael paused in astonishment. Yes, you heard that correctly. There are moments in eternity that unfold according to divine order, and then there are moments like this, moments so rare, so precise, that they cause even the mightiest heavenly warriors to take notice. Archangel Michael, the protector, the defender, the one who has seen countless battles and blessings, stood still. Because what was released over your life was not ordinary. It was not expected at this scale. It was not something that happens every day. You may be wondering, why me? You may feel unprepared and uncertain, or even unworthy. But listen closely. This has nothing to do with luck. This has everything to do with alignment. There were nights you cried silently. There were prayers you whispered when no one else was listening. There were moments when you almost gave up, when the weight felt unbearable, when nothing seemed to move. But heaven was watching. Every tear was counted. Every act of faith was recorded. And now, something has shifted. May 25th is not just a date. It is a divine marker. A line drawn between what was and what is about to be. Something has been authorized in your favor, something that carries both spiritual authority and earthly manifestation. The $1 million check is not limited by human systems. It is not confined to one form. It may come as financial breakthrough, unexpected opportunities, restored relationships, or doors opening where there were only walls before. It is abundance in a form that matches your deepest needs and your highest calling. And here is the part that many will not understand. This blessing was written quietly. No announcement, no wording, no noise. Because what God does in silence often carries the greatest power. While others were distracted, while doubt tried to cloud your vision, while delays made you question everything, the signature was already being placed. Your name was already being written. Archangel Michael's shock was not fear, it was awe. Awe at the timing. Awe at the magnitude. Awe at how precisely this blessing bypassed every obstacle that was set against you. There were forces that tried to delay this, voices that tried to discourage you, situations that tried to break you. But none of them had the authority to cancel what was divinely ordained. So right now, in this very moment, understand this truth. You are standing at the edge of something life-changing. You are not here by accident. This message did not find you randomly. It found you because it belongs to you. Something has already been released, and very soon, you will begin to see the evidence of it in your life. Stay with this message, because what unfolds next will reveal why your name was chosen and why this blessing carries a power that goes far beyond what you can currently imagine. There is a place beyond human sight, beyond logic, and beyond the limits of time, where every moment of your life has been carefully recorded. It is what can only be described as the hidden ledger of heaven. This is not a book written with ink and paper, but a living record, one that captures every prayer you have spoken, every sacrifice you have made, and every time you chose faith when doubt tried to take over. Nothing has ever been lost. Nothing has ever been overlooked. While you were navigating your daily struggles, wondering if anything you did truly mattered, heaven was keeping count. Every act of kindness that went unnoticed by others was written down. Every time you held your peace instead of reacting in anger, it was marked. Every moment you kept going, even when your strength was gone, it was recorded as evidence. And now, all of it has accumulated into something far greater than you imagined. This is why the blessing released on May 25th did not come out of nowhere. It may feel sudden to you, but in truth, it has been building for a very long time. There is a divine system that operates beyond human understanding, where seeds of faith eventually produce a harvest. Some seeds grow quickly, but others take time, because their harvest is meant to be greater, deeper, and more impactful. You may have questioned why things took so long. You may have asked why others seemed to move ahead while you remained in the same place. But what you could not see was that your account was not empty, it was increasing. With every delay, something was being added. With every disappointment, something was being multiplied. And with every test you endured, your capacity to receive was being expanded. Archangel Michael has been assigned not only as a protector in times of battle, but also as a guardian of divine order. He stands at the threshold between what is seen and unseen, ensuring that what belongs to you cannot be stolen, delayed beyond its appointed time, or destroyed. When opposition rose against you, when situations felt like they were closing in, it was not by chance that you made it through. There was intervention. There was protection. There was a force standing between you and what tried to harm you. And now, as this heavenly ledger reaches a point of fulfillment, something extraordinary has been released. The $1 million check is not just a reward, it is a settlement. It is a divine response to everything you have carried, everything you have endured, and everything you have believed for. It is heaven saying, "It is time." But here is where many misunderstand the nature of divine wealth. This is not limited to currency alone. Yes, for some, it will manifest in financial increase in ways that defy explanation. But for others, it will appear as opportunities that change the course of your life, connections that unlock doors you could never open alone, or breakthroughs that remove barriers that stood in your way for years. Spiritual wealth and material wealth are deeply connected. When your spirit has been refined through trials, when your heart has been aligned through faith, you become ready to handle what is being given. This is why the timing matters. If this blessing had come earlier, it might not have been sustained. But now, you are different. You are stronger. You are prepared in ways you did not even realize. There is also a reason this transaction was done quietly. Not every blessing is meant to be announced before it arrives. Some things must be protected until they fully manifest. Silence, in this case, was not absence. It was strategy. It was a way of ensuring that nothing interferes with what has already been set into motion. As you begin to understand this hidden ledger, you will realize that your life has never been random. There has always been a plan, always been a structure, always been a purpose behind every delay and every breakthrough. And now, you are stepping into a moment where what was once invisible is about to become visible. Stay attentive, because the next revelation will uncover why, out of so many, your name was specifically chosen for this extraordinary release. Listen closely, because this is where everything becomes deeply personal. Out of countless names, countless lives, countless stories unfolding at this very moment, yours was chosen. Not randomly, not accidentally, but intentionally, precisely, and with full awareness of everything you have been through. The question is no longer if this blessing is real. The question is why it has your name on it. The answer begins in places you may have forgotten. Moments when you stood alone, when no one clapped for you, when no one even noticed what you were carrying. Those were not empty moments. Those were defining moments. While the world measures worth by visibility and recognition, heaven measures differently. It looks at the heart. It looks at endurance. It looks at what you did when quitting would have been easier. There were times you chose integrity when compromise would have benefited you. There were moments you stayed silent instead of speaking out of anger. There were situations where you gave, even when you had little left for yourself. These decisions may have seemed small at the time, but in the divine scale, they carried immense weight. They became the very reasons your name rose above the noise. You must understand something powerful. Your struggles were not punishments. They were qualifications. Every delay, every closed door, every unanswered question was shaping you into someone who could handle what is now being released. Without those experiences, this blessing could have overwhelmed you. But now, you are ready. Not because everything is perfect, but because you have been prepared. Think about the prayers you whispered when no one else was around. The ones you barely had the strength to say. The ones that came from a place so deep, so raw, that words could hardly express them. Those prayers did not disappear into silence. They were heard. They were received. And more importantly, they were answered. Just not in the timing you expected. There is also something you need to hear with clarity. You were chosen even in moments when you doubted yourself. Even when you felt unworthy. Even when you questioned whether you were on the right path. Your doubt did not cancel your calling. Your uncertainty did not erase your identity. In fact, your ability to keep going despite those feelings became part of the reason you stand here now. Archangel Michael has witnessed your journey, not from a distance but closely. Every time pressure built around you, every time something tried to push you off course, there was protection you could not see. There were battles you never knew were being fought on your behalf. There were outcomes that could have gone differently, but didn't, because you were being guarded for this very moment. And now, the selection has been made visible. Your name on that $1 million check is a declaration. It is heaven saying, "We have seen enough. It is time to release what hath been held for you." This is not about comparison with anyone else. This is not about proving anything to anyone. This is about stepping into what has already been assigned to you. But here is the turning point. Receiving this blessing requires alignment. You cannot carry old fear into a new season of abundance. You cannot hold on to past limitations while stepping into expansion. This is the moment where you begin to shift your mindset, where you start to see yourself not as someone waiting, but as someone receiving. Let this truth settle within you. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. And what has been released carries a weight of purpose far beyond what you can currently see. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, do not ignore it. There is power in agreement. Type "I am ready to receive" in the comments if you feel this confirmation deep within you. Blessing code 931 is now activated over your life. And as this truth settles in your heart, understand this. What is being released through this message is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to reach others who are still waiting in silence, still wondering if their moment will ever come. When you respond to this calling, you become part of that flow. As this revelation touches your spirit, hear this as a divine invitation. Every seed you sow into this mission becomes a river that carries hope into someone else's darkness. The word says in Luke 6:38, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not just written, it is alive, speaking directly into your moment right now. When you choose to give through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are igniting light in places that are still waiting for truth. Say within yourself, "I release my seed to multiply God's work. and step into that obedience without hesitation. This is a prophetic moment, and your action right now aligns you with a greater harvest. As you give, may doors open, may overflow find you, and may your life reflect the same abundance being spoken today. Act now, and let your seed speak for you. There is a mystery surrounding this $1 million check that must be understood, because if you only see it through human eyes, you may miss the fullness of what has been released. This is not just about a number. It is not just about money. It is a symbol of something far greater, a divine transfer that carries layers of meaning, purpose, and transformation. When heaven uses language like this, it speaks in ways that capture attention but also require discernment. A check represents authorization. It represents something that has already been approved, already signed, already made ready for you to receive. It is not a promise waiting to be fulfilled. It is a fulfillment waiting to be manifested. This means the delay you once experienced is no longer in the approval stage. That part is done. But what makes this even more powerful is the value attached to it. A $1 million measure is not random. It represents overflow. It represents more than enough. It represents a level of provision that does not just meet needs but exceeds them. And this is where your understanding must expand, because what is coming into your life is not meant to barely sustain you. It is meant to elevate you. For some, this will take the form of financial increase that arrives in unexpected ways. Opportunities may appear that seem too perfectly aligned to be coincidence. Resources may find their way to you through channels you never considered. Ideas may begin to flow that carry the potential to generate wealth beyond what you have previously experienced. These are not accidents. These are expressions of what has already been released. For others, this check will manifest in ways that go even deeper. It may come as restoration in areas where you experienced loss. Relationships that seemed broken beyond repair may begin to heal. Doors that were once closed tightly may suddenly open without resistance. Situations that caused you stress and confusion may resolve in ways that bring peace and clarity. This is still part of the same blessing, because true wealth is not limited to finances alone. There is also a spiritual dimension to this that cannot be ignored. You are being entrusted with more, not just for your own benefit, but for a greater purpose. This is where responsibility meets blessing. When God releases something at this level, it is not only to change your life, but to position you as a channel through which others can be impacted. You are being elevated so that you can lift others. This is why doubt must be addressed right now. The moment something this significant is revealed, the mind often tries to question it. Thoughts may arise that say, "This is too big," or "This cannot be for me." But those thoughts do not come from the place of truth. They come from old patterns, from past disappointments, from experiences that conditioned you to expect less. You must break away from that limitation. What is being released does not match your past. It matches your purpose. And your purpose has always been greater than what you have seen so far. There is also a reason this was done quietly. Not everything that is valuable needs to be announced before it arrives. In fact, silence often protects what is sacred. If this had been revealed too early, it could have been exposed to doubt, negativity, or interference. But now, it is already done. The signature is already there. The authorization has already been completed. Archangel Michael's presence in this moment is not passive. He stands as a witness to what hath been released and as a protector over its manifestation. This means that what is yours will not be easily taken, delayed, or disrupted. There is a covering over this blessing that ensures its arrival in the right way, at the right time, and with the right impact. So as you move forward, begin to shift your perspective. Stop looking at your life through the lens of lack and start seeing it through the lens of overflow. Pay attention to what begins to change. Notice the opportunities, the ideas, the connections, the shifts in your environment. These are not small things. They are signs that what was written is now unfolding. The mystery is no longer hidden. It is being revealed step by step. And as you continue, you will begin to understand just how powerful this moment truly is. There are moments in the divine realm that follow a predictable rhythm, a sacred order that even the highest heavenly beings understand and expect. But then there are moments that break that pattern, moments so extraordinary that they cause even the strongest warriors of heaven to pause in awe. This is one of those moments, and this is why Archangel Michael was shocked. Understand this clearly. Archangel Michael is not easily surprised. He has witnessed the rise and fall of nations, the battles between light and darkness, the unfolding of divine plans across generations. He stands as a protector, a commander, a force of unwavering strength, and nothing catches him off guard without reason. So when something causes him to pause, to take notice in a different way, it means that what has been released carries a magnitude beyond the ordinary. The shock was not rooted in confusion, but in the scale and precision of what was done for you. This blessing did not come through the usual pathways. It did not follow the expected timeline. It bypassed systems, barriers, and even certain spiritual delays that would normally hold such a release back. It was accelerated. It was intensified. It was delivered with a level of authority that is rarely seen. Why? Because of what you had endured. There were battles surrounding your life that you were never fully aware of. Situations that seemed natural on the surface were often influenced by deeper spiritual resistance. Delays were not always just delays. They were attempts to wear you down, to make you give up, to disconnect you from what was already being prepared for you. But despite all of that, you remained. You kept going, even when it made no sense to continue. Archangel Michael witnessed these battles closely. He stood in moments where pressure tried to break you. He saw the weight that was placed on your shoulders. And he also saw something else, your refusal to completely surrender to defeat. Even in your weakest moments, there was still a part of you that held on. It alone shifted everything. This is why the release of this blessing carries such intensity. It is not just about reward. It is about restoration and justice. There were things that were delayed that should have come sooner. There were opportunities that slipped away that should have been yours. There were moments where you gave more than you received. And now, there is a balancing taking place. What shocked Archangel Michael was the fullness of that restoration. It was not partial. It was not measured in small portions. It came as a complete release, a settling of what had been building over time. The $1 million check represents that fullness. It is not just giving you what you lost, but giving you beyond it. There is also something else that must be understood. The timing of this release was critical. If it had come earlier, the opposition surrounding you might have been able to interfere more effectively. If it had been delayed further, it could have caused unnecessary strain on your spirit. But this moment, this exact timing, was perfect. It was strategic. It was protected. And this is where the presence of Archangel Michael becomes even more significant. He is not only a witness to what has been released, he is now actively ensuring that it reaches you. This means that what is unfolding in your life from this point forward is under a different kind of covering. There is a protection over your opportunities, over your breakthroughs, over the paths that begin to open. You may start to notice that things align in ways that feel almost too precise. Doors may open at the exact moment you need them. Solutions may appear just when problems seem overwhelming. People may come into your life with the exact connection or answer you were missing. This is not coincidence. This is orchestration. But with this also comes a shift in responsibility. When something of this magnitude is released, it requires awareness. You cannot move the same way you used to. You cannot ignore the signs or dismiss the changes as luck. You must recognize that you are stepping into a different level of alignment. Archangel Michael's shock has now turned into assignment. What was once observed is now being guarded. What was once released is now being guided toward manifestation, and you are at the center of it. So as you continue forward, understand this. You are no longer in the same position you were before. Something has changed. Something hath been activated. And what is coming into your life carries both the power of heaven's authority and the protection of one of its greatest defenders. Remain aware, remain open, and most importantly, remain ready, because what unfolds next will begin to show you the signs that this blessing is already moving toward you. Pay close attention now, because what you are about to recognize may change how you see your recent past. The truth is, this moment did not arrive without warning. There were signs, clear, undeniable signals, that something significant was approaching. But at the time, they may have felt confusing, overwhelming, or even discouraging. And now, you are being given the clarity to understand them. One of the first signs was a deep, unexplainable exhaustion. Not just physical tiredness, but a heaviness in your spirit. You may have felt like you were carrying more than usual, as if the weight of everything around you suddenly intensified. This was not weakness. This was pressure before breakthrough. Just as something must be stretched before it expands, you were being stretched in ways that prepared you for what is now being released. Then there were the delays. Plans that did not move forward. Opportunities that seemed to slip through your fingers. Doors that remained closed no matter how hard you tried to open them. In those moments, it may have felt like rejection. It may have felt like failure. But in reality, it was redirection. You were being held back from paths that were not aligned with what was coming. If those doors had opened, they could have distracted you or limited your capacity to receive something greater. You may have also experienced sudden endings, connections that faded, situations that came to a halt without clear explanation. At the time, it might have felt like loss, but now you can begin to see it differently. Those endings were making space. They were clearing out what could not go with you into this next phase. Not everything is meant to continue with you when you step into a higher level of blessing. Another sign was a heightened sense of awareness. Moments where you felt more sensitive to your surroundings, more aware of people's intentions, more alert to what felt right and what did not. This was not your imagination. This was discernment increasing within you. You were being guided, even when you did not fully understand it, to move differently, to choose wisely, to avoid what could interfere with your path. There may have also been times when you felt an unusual sense of protection. Situations where things could have gone wrong, but somehow did. Moments where you avoided problems without even trying. Instances where you were in the right place at the right time, or sometimes even the wrong place at the right time, and yet nothing harmed you. This was not coincidence. This was covering. Archangel Michael was active, ensuring that nothing disrupted the timing of what was being prepared for you. You might also remember moments of doubt that seemed stronger than usual. Thoughts that questioned your direction, your worth, your future. These thoughts may have come suddenly, without clear reason. Is of resistance. Whenever something significant is about to happen, opposition often increases in subtle ways. trying to weaken your confidence before your breakthrough arrives. But the fact that you are still here, still listening, still moving forward, means that resistance did not win. And then there were the quiet moments. The moments where everything seemed still, where nothing appeared to be happening at all. These were perhaps the most difficult to understand, because silence can feel like absence. But in truth, those were the moments when the most was happening behind the scenes. Just because you could not see movement did not mean nothing was moving. All of these signs were pointing to one thing: preparation. You were being prepared mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for a shift that required more from you than before. And now, as this $1 million check has been released, you can begin to connect the dots. What once felt random now reveals itself as intentional. What once felt confusing now becomes clear. This is why awareness is so important in this moment. You are no longer walking blindly. You are stepping forward with understanding. The signs were not meant to scare you. They were meant to prepare you. They were indicators that something greater was approaching, even when it did not look like it on the surface. As you move forward, you may begin to notice new signs. Different from before. Lighter. More aligned. More direct. These will not feel like resistance. They will feel like confirmation. They will guide you toward what has already been released. So do not dismiss what you have experienced. Do not overlook the journey that brought you here. Every moment had purpose. Every sign had meaning. And now, you are stepping into the phase where what was once only sensed will begin to be seen. Stay aware, because what comes next will reveal the hidden battles that tried to stop this, and how they ultimately failed. What you are about to understand may explain why the journey felt heavier than it should have been. The truth is, not everything you faced was ordinary. There were forces working behind the scenes, attempting to delay, disrupt, and ultimately cancel what had your name on it. This was not just a season of hardship. It was a targeted resistance against your breakthrough. There were moments when things seemed to fall apart without reason. Situations that should have worked out suddenly shifted. Plans that looked promising collapsed at the last minute. You may have blamed yourself. You may have questioned your decisions. But what you could not see was that there was interference, subtle, strategic, and persistent. The enemy does not fight what is insignificant. Resistance increases in proportion to purpose, and what was assigned to your life carried a weight that made it a target. The $1 million check that has now been released was not written overnight. It was building, forming, and gaining value over time. And as it grew closer to completion, so did the attempts to stop it. This is why certain seasons felt unusually intense. You may have noticed that challenges came one after another, leaving little room to recover. Just as you began to regain your footing, something else would arise. It felt like a cycle that would not break. But this was not randomness. It was pressure designed to exhaust you, to push you into a place where you would give up before the release could happen. There were also moments when confusion surrounded you. Decisions became harder. Clarity seemed distant. You may have felt like you were moving without direction, unsure of what step to take next. This confusion was not a reflection of your ability. It was a tactic. Because if you could be kept uncertain long enough, it would be easier to divert you from the path that was leading to your blessing. And yet, despite all of this, something remarkable happened. You did not completely stop. You may have slowed down. You may have questioned everything. You may have even felt like you were losing ground. But you did not fully disconnect. There was still a thread, small, but unbroken, that kept you moving forward. A thread was enough. Archangel Michael was not absent during these moments. In fact, this is where his role became most critical. While you were experiencing what felt like chaos, there was order being enforced in the unseen. There were battles taking place that you never had to fight directly. There were outcomes being shifted, tasks being redirected, and dangers being removed before they could fully reach you. There were things that could have gone far worse than they did. Situations that had the potential to cause lasting damage were quietly neutralized. Opportunities that seemed lost were actually being rerouted. Even the delays that frustrated you were, in many cases, acts of protection. Because if certain things had moved forward at the time, they could have interfered with what was being prepared for you now. The enemy's goal was simple: to stop the release, to make you walk away before it arrived, to convince you that nothing was changing, that nothing was coming, that everything you hoped for was out of reach. But that plan failed. It failed because what was written for you carried authority beyond any opposition. It failed because your endurance, even in its weakest form, was enough to keep you connected. And it failed because Archangel Michael stood in a position of defense, ensuring that no attempt could fully cancel what had already been approved. Now, as you stand on the other side of that resistance, something has shifted. The battles that once surrounded you are no longer in control of the outcome. The pressure that once felt overwhelming has lost its hold. The interference that once delayed you has been overridden. This does not mean challenges will never appear again. But it does mean that this particular battle, the one connected to this release, has already been decided. Victory has already been secured. The $1 million check was not only written, it was protected all the way to this moment. And now, you are moving into a different phase. Not one defined by resistance, but one defined by alignment. Not one filled with constant opposition, but one where things begin to flow in ways that feel unfamiliar, but right. So as you continue, release the weight of what tried to stop you. Let go of the confusion, the doubt, the frustration that built up during that season. It no longer has authority over you. You are no longer in that place. Because what comes next will reveal the exact moment everything shifted in your favor. The moment the release became irreversible. There was a moment, precise, intentional, and undeniable, when everything shifted in your favor. It did not happen loudly. There were no visible signs in the physical world. No sudden announcement. No dramatic interruption. And yet, in the spiritual realm, it was a defining instant. The moment the $1 million check was no longer in preparation, but fully released with your name secured upon it. That moment was May 25th. While you were going about your life, possibly unaware, something irreversible took place. A decision was finalized. A signature was completed. An authorization was sealed. What had been building through every season of your life reached its appointed time. And from that exact point forward, what belongs to you could no longer be withheld. This is important to understand. There is a difference between something being prepared and something being released. Preparation can take time. It can involve delay, refinement, and waiting. But once a release happens, the process changes completely. It moves from formation into manifestation. It begins to make its way into your reality through whatever channels are necessary. The reason this moment was so quiet is because it required precision. Not everything can be released in a way that draws attention. Some things must bypass interference completely. Silence ensured that nothing could interrupt the final step. No resistance could block it. No doubt could weaken it. It was completed in a way that guaranteed its success. At that exact moment, Archangel Michael bore witness. What at once caused him to pause in astonishment now became something he would actively guard. Because once something of this magnitude is released, it must be carried through to completion. This is where protection shifts into guidance. This is where what has been written begins to move toward you. You may not have felt anything unusual on that day. Or perhaps you did. Something subtle. Something you could not explain. A shift in your emotions. A sudden sense of calm. Or even a moment of stillness that felt different from before. These were not random feelings. They were reflections of what had already taken place beyond what you could see. From that moment forward, your life entered a new timeline. One where the delays that once held you back no longer have the same authority. One where the path ahead begins to align in ways that were previously blocked. This does not mean everything will happen instantly, but it does mean everything has already been set into motion. There is also a reason your name was written so clearly in this release. It was to eliminate confusion, to ensure that what has been assigned cannot be mistaken, transferred, or lost. This is not something that can be claimed by another. It is specific to you. It carries your identity, your journey, your preparation. And because of that, you may begin to notice something different within yourself. A growing sense of expectation. A quiet confidence that something is about to change. Even if you cannot explain it, it will feel real. This is not imagination. This is alignment with what has already been done. But there is something you must do in this moment. You must come into agreement with the release. You must stop seeing yourself as someone waiting and start seeing yourself as someone receiving. This shift is critical. Because while the blessing has been authorized, your awareness and readiness determine how you respond when it begins to appear. Do not dismiss opportunities that come unexpectedly. Do not overlook small beginnings. Sometimes what looks simple at first carries the doorway to something much greater. Stay attentive. Stay open. And most importantly, stay aligned with the understanding that what has been written is already yours. This moment, May 25th, was not just a date. It was a turning point. A line that marked the end of waiting and the beginning of receiving. And everything that follows will begin to reflect that shift. If you feel this truth settling into your spirit, respond to it with faith. Type IT is already done in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5287 is now activated over your life. And as you stand in this moment of release, understand that what flows through this message is meant to reach beyond just you. There are others who are still in their waiting season, still searching for confirmation, still needing to hear that their moment is coming. Right now, you are standing in a moment of divine overflow, and your action can become a stream that reaches someone still in drought. The word declares in 2 Corinthians 9:6, "Whoever sows generously will also reap generously," and this is God speaking directly into your hands at this very moment. When you release your seed through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link placed in the description and QR code, you are not giving away. You are planting into a harvest that multiplies across souls. Say within your heart, "I step into this flow and become a vessel of God's provision and move without delay." This is not just generosity. This is obedience in motion, a prophetic act that aligns you with heaven's abundance. As you give, may increase chase you, may favor surround you, and may your life overflow in ways you cannot contain. Act now, and let your seed unlock blessings beyond what you see. And now that the release has already taken place, the question is no longer whether it is coming. The question is how you will respond to it. This is where many people unknowingly delay what has already been authorized. Not because the blessing is absent, but because their posture is not aligned with receiving it. And this is the moment where everything begins to depend on your awareness, your mindset, and your willingness to move differently. You must first understand this. Receiving is not passive. It is an active state of alignment. It requires you to shift from survival thinking into expectation. For so long, you may have been focused on getting through each day, managing what you had, adjusting to limitations. But now, that mindset must change, because what is coming into your life cannot fit into the space of limitation. It requires expansion. One of the first things you must do is release fear. Fear has a subtle way of disguising itself as caution, as logic, even as humility. It may whisper that you are not ready, that this is too much, that something could go wrong. But understand this clearly. Fear is not protection in this moment. It is resistance. If you allow it to guide your decisions, it can cause you to hesitate when you should move, to doubt when you should trust, and to shrink when you should step forward. Instead, you must begin to move with confidence, not arrogance, but a quiet, steady confidence that comes from knowing something has already been done in your favor. This confidence will not always feel loud or dramatic. Sometimes, it will simply feel like a calm certainty within you, a knowing that you cannot fully explain, but cannot ignore either. Another important step is to remain attentive to opportunities. The $1 million check will not always arrive in a single, obvious form. It may unfold through a series of moments, decisions, and connections that gradually lead you into its fullness. This means you must pay attention to what is placed in front of you. Conversations, ideas, invitations, these may all carry pieces of what had been released. Do not dismiss something just because it seems small at first. Some of the greatest transformations begin with what appears insignificant. A single decision can open a path that changes everything. A single connection can introduce you to something that shifts your entire direction. Stay open, because what you are receiving may come in layers. You must also guard against self-sabotage. This often happens unconsciously, especially when something new begins to enter your life. Old habits, old thoughts, and old patterns may try to resurface. You may feel the urge to retreat into what is familiar, even if it no longer serves you. But this is where awareness becomes your strength. Recognize when those patterns arise, and choose differently. Choose to move forward, even if it feels unfamiliar. Choose to trust, even if you can't see the full picture yet. Because what lies ahead is not meant to match your past. It is meant to surpass it. Gratitude will also play a powerful role in this process. Not just gratitude for what you will receive, but gratitude for what has already been done. When you acknowledge that something has already been released, it shifts your perspective. It moves you from waiting into appreciation. And appreciation has a way of opening doors even further. Take moments to reflect, to recognize the shifts that are already happening. Even small changes are indicators that movement has begun. The more you acknowledge them, the more you align yourself with what is unfolding. There is also a need for discernment. Not every opportunity will be aligned with this blessing. Some things may appear attractive but lead you away from the path that has been set. This is why staying connected to your inner awareness is important. If something feels forced, rushed, or out of alignment, take a step back. What is meant for you will not require you to abandon your sense of clarity. As you move forward, remember that you are not alone in this process. Archangel Michael continues to stand in a place of protection and guidance, ensuring that what has been released reaches you in the right way. This means you can move with a sense of assurance, knowing that there is support beyond what you can see. This is your moment to step into alignment, to shift your posture, to recognize that you are no longer in a place of waiting, but in a place of receiving. And as you do, you will begin to see how what was once invisible starts to take form in your life. Everything has already been set into motion. Now, it is your response that will determine how fully you experience it. What is about to unfold in your life is not a small adjustment. It is a transformation that will reach into multiple areas at once. When something of this magnitude is released, it does not remain isolated. It creates a ripple effect. It begins to influence your finances, your relationships, your sense of purpose, and even how you see yourself. This is not just about receiving something new. It is about becoming someone new in the process. The first area where you may begin to notice changes in your sense of stability. Where there was once uncertainty, there will be a growing sense of security. This does not mean challenges will disappear completely, but it does mean they will no longer control your direction. You will begin to feel grounded in a way that is unfamiliar, as if something beneath you has become stronger, more reliable. Financially, for many, there will be a shift that breaks old patterns. Opportunities for increase may appear in ways that do not follow your previous experiences. You may find yourself thinking differently about money, making decisions with greater clarity, and recognizing paths that were once hidden from you. This is part of the $1,000,000 check unfolding, not just in what you receive, but in how you manage and multiply it. But this transformation goes deeper than finances. Your relationships will also begin to shift. Some connections will strengthen, becoming more aligned with who you are becoming. Others may naturally fall away, not out of conflict, but because they no longer match your direction. This can feel uncomfortable at times, but it is necessary. You cannot step into a new level while holding on to everything from the previous one. You may also find that new people begin to enter your life. Individuals who carry insight, support, or opportunities that align with your path. These are not random encounters. They are part of the orchestration that follows a release like this. Pay attention to these connections, because they may play a role in how your blessing fully manifests. Your sense of purpose will also become clearer. Things that once felt uncertain may begin to make sense. You may feel drawn toward specific ideas, projects, or directions that resonate more deeply than before. This is not something to ignore. It is part of the alignment process. When you begin to move in the direction of your purpose, everything else starts to connect more naturally. One of the most powerful changes, however, will be internal. You will begin to see yourself differently. The version of you that operated in survival mode will slowly give way to a version that operates in confidence and expectation. This does not happen overnight, but it will happen. And as it does, your decisions, your actions, and your outlook will all begin to reflect that shift. There may be moments where this transformation feels overwhelming. When so many things begin to change at once, it can feel unfamiliar, even unsettling. But this is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is expanding. Growth often feels uncomfortable before it feels natural. During this time, it is important to remain centered. Do not rush to control everything. Allow things to unfold. Stay grounded in the understanding that what is happening is not random. It is the result of what has already been released. Trust the process, even when you do not fully understand every step. You may also begin to notice that your influence extends beyond yourself. The changes in your life will impact those around you. Your growth may inspire others. Your opportunities may create pathways for others. This is part of the greater purpose attached to this blessing. It was never meant to stop with you. It was meant to flow through you. Archangel Michael's role in this phase continues, but it takes on a slightly different form. It is not just about protection now, It is about alignment, ensuring that the paths you take, the decisions you make, and the opportunities you pursue all connect with what has been released. This guidance may not always be obvious, but it will be present. As this transformation continues, remember this: you are not stepping into something temporary. You are stepping into a new level of living, one that reflects not just what you have received, but who you have become. Everything is shifting. Everything is aligning. And what you are about to experience will show you that this was never just about a single blessing. It was about a complete change in direction. There is a reason you are hearing this message right now, at this exact moment in your life. Out of all the noise, all the distractions, all the countless messages you could have encountered, this one reached you. That is not coincidence. That is confirmation. This is the alignment you have been waiting for, the quiet but undeniable signal that something real is unfolding in your favor. For a long time, you may have searched for clarity. You may have asked for a sign, something that would reassure you that you were not moving in the wrong direction, that your waiting had meaning, that your persistence was not in vain. And now, here it is. Not in the form you expected, perhaps, but in a way that speaks directly to where you are right now. This is how confirmation often works. It does not always arrive with dramatic proof or immediate evidence. Sometimes it comes as a deep sense of recognition, a feeling within you that says, "This is for me." Even if your mind tries to question it, something deeper resonates. That resonance is important. It is your inner awareness responding to truth. Think back to the moments when you felt close to giving up, the times when you wondered if anything would ever change. Those moments were not the end of your story. They were the edge of your breakthrough. You were closer than you realized, even when everything around you suggested otherwise. Now, as everything begins to align, you may start to notice patterns that confirm this shift. Repeated ideas that come to your mind. Conversations that seem to carry meaning beyond their surface. Opportunities that appear at just the right time. These are not random occurrences. They are signals that what has already been released is beginning to take form in your life. There is also a deeper level of alignment happening within you. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your intuition are starting to move in the same direction. Where there was once conflict or confusion, there is now a growing sense of clarity. You may not have all the answers yet, but you will begin to feel more certain about the steps you are taking. This is the moment where belief becomes essential. Not blind belief, but grounded trust. Trust in what has already been set into motion. Trust that what you are beginning to see is only the beginning. Because once something like this starts to unfold, it does not stop halfway. It continues until it reaches its full expression. You must also be aware that confirmation can require courage. Once you recognize that something is real, you are faced with a choice. You can step into it, or you can hesitate. You can move forward with confidence, or you can hold back out of fear. This is where your response matters. Do not let doubt pull you backward now. You have come too far. You have endured too much. You have moved through too many obstacles to stop at the moment when everything begins to align. This is where you lean forward, not retreat. There may still be voices, internal or external, that try to question what is happening, that try to minimize it, to explain it away, to bring it back into something familiar and manageable. But this is not meant to be reduced. This is meant to expand, and you must allow it to be what it is. Archangel Michael remains present in this moment, not just as a protector, but as a witness to your alignment. There is a sense of readiness now, a recognition that you are stepping into what has been prepared for you. This is not a distant possibility anymore. It is an active reality. And as you stand in this place of confirmation, understand this. You are no longer searching for a sign. You have become the sign. Your life, your movement, your transformation, these are all evidence of what has been released. So take this moment fully. Let it settle within you. Let it strengthen your confidence. Let it remind you that what you have been waiting for is no longer ahead of you. It is unfolding around you. Because what comes next is not about proving anything. It is about resting in the certainty that it is already done, and allowing that certainty to carry you forward into the fullness of what hath been written in your name. Beloved one, now that you have heard everything, now that the message has unfolded layer by layer, this is where your spirit is invited to rest. Not in confusion, not in questioning, but in peace. Because what was meant to reach you has reached you, and what was meant to be released has already been done. You are not standing in uncertainty anymore. You are standing in assurance. Take a moment and feel that. Let it settle within you. The striving, the wondering, the constant searching for when and how. It no longer needs to carry the same weight. Because May 25th was not just a moment of release. It was a moment of completion. A moment where something they had been building for so long finally crossed into fulfillment. And now, your role is not to force it, not to chase it, not to try to control every detail. Your role is to trust it, to walk forward with a quiet confidence that what belongs to you will find you, in the right way, at the right time, without confusion. Archangel Michael stands beside you even now, not in shock anymore, but in calm authority. What once caused awe has now become assignment. There is a covering over your life, a protection over your path, and a guidance that will continue to lead you forward. You are not walking into the unknown alone. You are walking with divine alignment already established. There is something deeply comforting in knowing that you do not have to figure everything out. You do not have to understand every step before you take it. The same power that wrote your name on that $1 million check is the same power that will guide its manifestation in your life. So breathe. Release the tension. Let go of the need to control outcomes. What is meant for you does not require struggle to arrive. It requires alignment to receive. And as you move forward, carry this awareness gently. You do not need to announce it to the world. You do not need to prove it to anyone. This is something sacred between you and God. Something written quietly, released quietly, and now unfolding in its own perfect way. You may begin to notice small shifts first, subtle changes, moments that feel different. You not overlook them. These are the beginnings of something greater. Just as the release itself was quiet, the manifestation may also begin quietly, but it will grow. It will expand, and it will become undeniable. There will come a time when you look back at this moment and realize that this was the turning point. The moment everything changed, even if it did not look dramatic at first. The moment you moved from waiting into receiving, from uncertainty into peace. Hold on to that peace. Let it guide your thoughts, your decisions, your actions. Because peace is not just a feeling, it is confirmation. It is the evidence that you are aligned with what has already been done. You are ready. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything has been prepared. If this message has touched your spirit, respond in faith. Type "I receive" with peace in the comments if you accept this word. Blessing code 8801 is now activated over your life. And as this journey settles into your heart, remember this: what you have received is not meant to end with you. It is meant to flow outward, to reach others who are still searching, still waiting, still hoping for their confirmation. As this peace rests upon you, hear this as a sacred calling. The seed you release today becomes light in someone else's darkness, a voice that reaches a soul still waiting for their moment. The word declares in Ecclesiastes 11:1, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days," and this is God inviting you into divine multiplication right now. When you give through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link and QR code in the description, you are not just giving. You are sending truth across unseen distances. Say within yourself, "I become a vessel for God's work," and act without hesitation. This is a prophetic step, a moment where your obedience opens doors not only for others, but for your own overflow. As you give, may blessings return to you in ways beyond expectation. May favor surround your path, and may your life reflect the abundance you have received. Act now, and let your seed speak into eternity.